What's up, gamers? Welcome to BattleMallet Podcast, Episode 20, BattleMallet 2nd Edition, where Terminators now have to make their saves on 1d6 instead of 2d6. The BattleMallet Podcast is a podcast delving into the minds of four busy gamers, their annual journey to the Nova Open Convention, playing the games that they love, and balancing life with those games. I'm Jared Johnson, and I'm here with Trace Hyde.
I'm painting ogres.
Danny Clemens.
What up?
And Jason Tabled Noob Murray.
If only I could roll a crit like my daughter.
Oh, no. More of that?
More of that.
Sweet.
That's Sarah and I, when we played Crisis Protocol the other day for the first time, I was showing her like the sides of the dice, and this is what you need to do. So she just 4 of them and rolled like 2 hits and 2 crits. I was like, well, shit. Okay. You're going to be good at this.
That's awesome. So we're going to... The number of topics that we will cover today is going to be small. I don't know if that's going to end up being a short episode or not, but we'll find out. The big thing that we want to cover is the Las Vegas Open. Las Vegas?
Las Vegan.
Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Open Warhammer Preview. So all of the new models, armies, content coming out from that. But as usual.
They say it's not the number of topics, it's how you use them. So don't stress.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so before we talk about Las Vegas, we'll do like we always do. We'll catch up with what everybody's been up to. So, Trace?
Painting ogres.
Painting ogres.
No, painting ogres. Jason and I went to a tournament a couple weeks ago, or last weekend. Was it last weekend? Last weekend. And that's really about it.
Time is a flat circle, man.
It is.
Wow, that was the quickest recap ever.
Yeah.
So we did go to a tournament, and we went to the local game theory tournament on a Sunday, and I'm very proud of the turnout, because I know that it wasn't hosted by us, and thank you, Brandon and Game Theory, for hosting it. But I would like to think that we had a part in kind of advertising it, and we had 14 players and really 2 groups from out of town come in. So it was a pretty big showing. It was one of the first times Game Theory's ever done best of 3. So it was 3 rounds, best of 3. And we had, H2O coach or Sean from the Richmond Nova area up there come on down and bring a buddy. And then we had Brandon Huss from Columbia, South Carolina come up and bring a buddy. Plus all the locals came out, both new and old. And, it was Trace, myself, Jimmy was there. Unfortunately, somebody had to dip out on us. Jared.
Sorry. I tried.
It was a lot of fun. A great event. And someone did really, really well there. And it wasn't me.
No?
Nope.
I won it.
Wow. So excited.
Damn.
No, it was good. I think I just had combination of good deck and against the proper opponents and stuff like that, and rolled a fair number of crits too, which was nice. One of the few times in my life where I rolled crits consistently. So.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so it was good.
Cool. So what'd you run?
I ran Stormcast Eternals. I ran a very spell-heavy Thunder Buddies list. For those who are listening that don't know what they are, it's Stormsire's Curse Breakers with a little bit of anti-objective thrown in there. So just a couple cards to flip objectives over to help deny warbands who want to be scoring supremacy and capturing 3 objectives or multiple objectives at a time. So
Nice.
That's kind of how it went. Yep. So it allowed me to be a little bit more passive if I needed to be a little more aggressive if I needed to. It was, like I said before, you guys have played Flex enough, and now it's my turn to play Flex.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it was good. It was like Jason said, it was a good turnout. Was really pleased with the number of people that were there, and the quality of players too, which was nice. So
Nice.
Yeah, the local scene has definitely moved forward. I mean, there's not really an easy out anymore. Like, yes, we do have a handful of new players, but even they are catching on quickly. So, I forget what warbands you went up against.
I played. My first match was against the Banshees, which is always a hard matchup for Stormsire because they're just so good and they can score most of their deck without really even caring what you're doing. And then I played a mirror match of Stormsire on Stormsire, which is always interesting. It really just comes down to who rolls better in that matchup. And then I played the Sepulchral Guard in the final and played Jimmy in the final.
Nice.
So it was good.
Yeah, it was awesome. You got that code.
I did get the code. Yes, and it's been submitted so that I don't miss out on the first drawing if that were to be fortuitous enough for me to get it. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. And Jason played pretty well too.
I did.
Who did you play against?
I was actually waiting for Jared to make a comment about clubbing small mammals or something. I mean, I don't
say that anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure.
Yeah.
No, congratulations again. So
thanks, man.
Any other hobby updates from you before I go, and I'll just dive into the tournament?
I was just trying not to clog us up, I guess, with the tournament recap. So, no, just painting. I've been painting a lot of ogres. Got almost all of the 750 Christmas challenge done. It's at the end of January. We're good.
It's a month late.
Yeah. It's okay. Jared's not finished either. But
it's the President's Day challenge.
Yeah, it's fine. We're not even gonna get into presidents and stuff right now. But yeah, so it's been fun, just different. Trying just new techniques and stuff, and you guys will see pictures later. Not right now, but later.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, you wanna dive into your tournament, and you can kind of catch us up on what you've been up to as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I've actually had quite a bit of hobby progress here. Starting with the tournament, gentlemen, I feel dirty because normally I'm the one that's playing, swinging for the fences with some underpowered warband, and the tournament took place right after. I should say the same weekend as the Warhammer World. No, the weekend before Warhammer World. Yes, the weekend before the Grand Clash. We did have the banned and restricted updated, or the FAR list was updated that weekend, but we did not use it. And I've been playing Lady Harrow, so I definitely have not been playing a subpar faction. But I really like them. Like, they're really, really cool. I feel there's a few different builds from aggro to passive, and really liking the caginess of being able to do what I want to do and then still reach out and touch someone. So I think I'm on an iteration 9 of that deck. So really enjoying it, but at the same time, I need to take a shower because I'm playing with a meta warband.
So dirty.
But the tournament, I played Brandon Huss round 1 against the Sepulchral Guard. Really good game. We drew in glory round 1, but he was standing on objective, so Brandon definitely pushed and pulled where he needed to. The big surprise of that game is I brought the wrong deck with me, so I had this wonderful, and it did not, to our listeners, it did not change the outcomes of the game. Like, the cards did not come out until about halfway through Brandon and mine's game, and they didn't come up in a place that really influenced the game. It was just like, oh, I'm looking for this card, and I draw this other card. I'm like, oh damn, I done messed up. Done messed up big time.
Oops.
Yeah. So, but he played real well, and he was standing on objective. Took game 1, game 2, I was able to kind of get my feet underneath me, and he had to keep rezzing a skeleton over and over and over, and I was just able to play whack-a-mole to take the round. Now, the scoring was done a little different, so I was awarded the full round win because I won that game, even though he took, game 1 and I took game 2, so it really should have been coded as a tie. But the TO ruled it as round 1 win. So then I went to play my lovely friend Steven. So Steven's someone that's been incorporated into the group here. We play him all the time. And whenever I play Steven, it's always a one glory game. So he had Thundrix, played him. We tied. Game 1, legit tied. Like, I thought I'd won because of Tome, and then I recounted the glory, and I was like, oh no, I'm definitely not that high. And we legit tied 21-21 with nobody on objectives because he pushed me off. It was awesome. Round 2 took that one. So going 2-0 into the last round, and I was going to have to submarine my way up over Jimmy and Trace. Wasn't having it. I went in and played Sean, and he just murdered me with Wild Hunt. It's been a long time since I've been O2'd, and he took it to me. I couldn't get it rolling. So great game there, Sean. I appreciate that butt whipping, and he got me back from beating him at Nova. So I guess we're even. So a lot of fun. Really happy that everyone came down, and I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate everyone's commitment to growing the community here in the Raleigh area. It's really, really fun to have that many players show up to an event and have a great time. Other than that, I literally have logged 10 more matches after that with the ladies and just various Warhammer Underworld. So definitely been grinding through that. We did have our January meetup at the Gamers Tavern. So I really enjoyed that place. I mean, Jared, you and I have played there twice now.
Yeah.
What do you and Trace think about that?
I love it. I mean, it's comfortable. It's the food is good. Beer on tap. Plenty of space as far as we understand it, as long as you don't want to play on a Friday or a Saturday, because you've got the Magic and Pokemon crowds in there. But yeah, I mean, like on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night that we've been there, I mean, it's been great.
I remember like 3 years ago when I was like, community really needs. It's like a high-end place for people to go play games. And y'all were like, that's stupid. Here we are. The actual answer was, yeah, that's a great idea, but where are we going to get the capital for that?
Yep.
That was the true answer.
Everyone was like, that's a great idea, but it was like, well, we're poor, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only we were independently wealthy. That's it. We're starting a Patreon right now. Just kidding. No.
We're going to franchise this sumbitch.
That's right.
Oh, no. No, I really liked it. I think, to kind of reemphasize all the points that Jared said, it is a very comfortable place to play. It's deceptively big. Like, there's a lot more space, especially for a game of our size. There's plenty of room for us to kind of spread out. And if we wanted to put 40 people in the room to play Underworlds, we could. I mean, those are lofty goals, obviously, but I think it'll be a nice place to kind of not call home per se, but play consistently enough to kind of build a rapport, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And just for our listeners, I would not recommend it for full-fledged tabletop minis games. I mean, if you're looking at playing Age of Sigmar or 40K, they do not have terrain. You'd have to lug everything in there, and although you could make it work, it's not really set up for that. It is a board game kind of tavern, but for us, and hopefully we can drag Danny there because they have a whole plethora of games on that back wall. I do think I saw Blood Rage there, so
yes,
might be a cool
snap,
night to break away and play that.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's perfect. Like Underworlds works. Jason, you and I played Warcry, and that was fine. So Kill Team would work.
I would assume Crisis Protocol would be playable.
3x3. Danny.
Yeah.
And you still need to bring terrain and stuff. Yeah. But it would be less of a stretch than trying to
Yeah, it
play.
wouldn't be as big deal because you only bring 10 miniatures. But
Yeah. Yep. So cool. Well, Jason, you been up to anything else? Any?
So I mean, Warcry, like Jared and I got a game of Warcry at the aforementioned place, and I just want to say, like, what a relief or breath of fresh air. Just that game is just so, like, it is just play. It is literally just play. It's so much fun.
Yep.
Like, I wish 40K had a version of that is just like roll, hit, do damage and move on. So
yeah. It's not 3 dice rolls to determine what happened.
And then positives and negatives and
No.
Like this is +1, but -1 times 2 plus 3 divided by 12 times 2%, and now we've got our roll.
Insert Zach Galifianakis gif.
Yeah. Hangover memes. Let's go.
Yeah.
But there's still enough with the multiple powers where you have your dice and you kind of do your special power or whatever. Like, it was just really fun and enjoyable, and I'm glad we were able to make it out and play a quick game.
That was good. It's good.
And then Warcry, and we'll talk about it in the LVO reveal, like kind of what's going on in GW. But there's a new Warcry warband coming out, and that kind of sealed the deal on me. I made a huge purchase into Slaves of Darkness, so keeping up with my New Year's resolution to play games that everybody wanted to play, I'm now a proud owner of 2 starter kits, the Battle Tome, the cards, the endless spells.
Nice.
Whole bunch of Slaves to Darkness, and then looking forward to getting that. But really, the cool thing of that Warcry warband, the Tyrants, Fire Tyrants,
yep.
They're going to be a really good stand-in for Marauders, which kind of solidify the whole look of the army, where it's uniform but yet barbaric. So I'm real excited to start that project. And then I finished a book, Emperor's Spear for 40K, current 40K setting, and wow, it just sparked my interest back into the lore and universe of 40K. I know we've been a little tough on that game lately, but this book, if you read a book, read this one. I listened on Audible while I was traveling, and it was fantastic. It really set the stage for what is currently going on in the Imperium. And when you cross the rift, how things are just different, and there's twists and turns in the story. It follows a regular Marine from the Mentor's
Legion. Yep.
Mentor's Legion, and he crosses over to try to get in touch with the forces on that side, the Emperor Spears, the Celestial Lions. That type of stuff, and the story is told from one of his adepts. Is that how you say it? Like he basically has a human helper. He has 3 of them, and this is the way the mentors go to battle. Is they have these I don't even know what they call them, but I forget the word now. But they basically support the Space Marine by watching data feeds that come in, and that's how they fight. But they're also heavily trained, and it's told through kind of her. She's almost like a remembrancer style, but she is very lethal as well. And she's the one.
She's got modifications that she's got remembrancer's coils, so she remembers everything. She has basically like a computer in her brain.
Yeah.
I also finished the book, so.
Oh, nice.
And it was, like Jason said, it was very, very good. It's a great kind of window view into how things operate now in the Imperium Nihilus. And I cannot remember for the life of me the name of what they're called either, Jason. I was trying to come up with it in my brain. But it was like Jason said, it was a great book. If you are looking for a good read and like different chapters, if you're tired of hearing about Blood Angels or whatever, it's a great kind of deviation from the normal chapters. No Ultramarines in this one. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sorry,
nice.
It's all right. I'm not going to read it. So.
doesn't
have
any
Ultramarines in it.
Why would you read it?
Or
That's funny.
does it?
Dun dun dun.
I don't want to I don't want to spoil anything, but it really, like, I can't emphasize enough. It shows you how desperate they are on the other side, and desperate I use like kind of as a loose word, because they're still fighting, still following orders, but it's just different. Like, they have to do things that you would not expect from what you understand in Space Marine lore. Like, in Space Marine lore, like, you don't cut corners, right? This is the way it goes, and it really blurs those lines, and plus it puts a spin on, because it's Aaron Dembski Bowden that writes it, so there is a point where they're fighting Chaos Space Marines, and there's a section where you actually kind of see the story from that Chaos Space Marine side. Like, oh, not everything's just black and white. There's a whole lot of gray. So,
he's good at doing that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Talon of Horus and Black Legion hit that pretty hard. So.
Yep. And the last hobby progress I had is today we played a game of Kidspire, with my daughter. She brought out the Magor's Fiends against the Godsworn Hunt, because according to her, those are the guys I always lose with. And I was like, okay, I'm going to win this one. And so I won the roll to go first, walked in to try to attack. And once again, for those that haven't kept up before, now I'm using the Dreadfiend board, just put that out there, and everybody starts inspired. And so I walk in, I hit 2 hits. Very important that I get 1 hit through, because that allows me to actually take somebody out of action, the way the damage works with the 2 warbands. And then she crits. And then she attacks me and crits. And then I attack her and go through, and she double crits. And then she attacks me again and crits. The girl rolled 5 rolls in a row with crits. And that was then she had a successful attack, and then she critted again. It was like 600 crits in a row. I couldn't believe it. Needless to say, by the end of turn 2, all of my guys were off the board, and she beat me like 15-0, 14-0. It was fantastic. Nice. It was a great time. Thanks, Emma. Yeah. Thanks for kicking my butt.
That's awesome. Then she was grounded.
Yeah.
So it was my game with Jared a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Saw the crits.
So that's my hobby progress. Been up to a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's awesome. Hopefully we'll keep that train rolling. So, Danny, what you got, bud?
Well, Jason was pulling up the Slack for me, because I haven't gotten a lot of hobby progress done. You guys know I've had a pretty weird week. Basically, the short of it is found out that my dog is really sick, and so we're trying to kind of spend a lot of time with the little guy and treat him well and keep him happy and all that stuff, and try to figure all that life stuff out. And so that has kind of dampened my enthusiasm for doing pretty much anything hobby-wise. That said, I have played some pretty casual board games with the wife and friends, and that was nice. It was a nice little reprieve, but kind of getting out the paints and the models and everything has felt a bit like a chore. So haven't really done it. But I hear Jason over here doing like all the things, and so I feel like, you know what? It balanced out.
Nice.
Didn't you play Crisis Protocol with your wife?
I did play Crisis Protocol with my wife, but that was we kind of played about 2/3 of the game of Crisis Protocol, because it got kind of late, and it was like she's not very this is kind of her first miniatures game, and so it was a lot for her. It was kind of like overload, and I think it was like, let's just having fun. I think if we keep going for another 2 turns, I think we might get cranky. So let's just kind of take the pedal off a bit. And but it was fun. It was also kind of we kind of adapted it a little bit. Well, I kind of adapted it a little bit, kind of like how you do with Emma for Shadespire. I kind of was like, well, let's not use these cards. Let's just focus on just what the heroes can do, so that there's no like, oh, I can plan this little trap. Let's just get used to, comparing stats and rolling off and doing all of that sort of, typical tabletop stuff. And once we kind of got in that groove, I was like, well, I feel like we've achieved the goal of this first game. Like, you kind of have a handle of how it works. And but we haven't busted it out since, but we both agreed that it was fun and that we should do it again. So hopefully on the horizon here.
Nice.
Good.
So what board games have you been playing?
We played a game called Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is maybe one of the most fun names in board games, which is kind of a fun one. It's you basically are like apothecaries in this made-up medieval town. And every year there's a competition where all of the quacks of Quedlinburg get together and try to outdo each other with their potions. And you have a big bowl in front of you, and it kind of has like a spiraled path, and you start in the middle, and you each space on that spiraled path is worth a victory point, more or less. And your job each turn is to try to get as many ingredients into this pot and fill up the path as much as you can to get as many points as possible. And the way you do that is you have a store of ingredients, things like mandrakes and tsetse flies, all sorts of like, typical stuff. And you have a pouch, like a blind bag, and you buy stuff and you put it in the pouch. And then when it's your turn, you start pulling items out of the pouch and you're filling up your cauldron. But if you fill up too many of one ingredient, it'll explode. And
nice.
You have to start kind of like trying to, oh shit, like I've pulled out all of my good stuff and now I've got left as a thing that'll blow it up. So I'm going to stop. Like you can just choose to stop. Or you can be like, oh, but I know I have one more good ingredient in there and I can still get 3 more bad ingredients before it blows up. So you can start kind of like playing the odds. And then it usually every turn comes to a moment where like everybody's watching you and you're like, all right, am I going to do this? Am I going to go for it? I got like 1 in 3 odds of getting the good ingredient, and that's going to help me win this round. And you're always like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And you reach in the bag, and you pull it out, and it's always the thing that makes you explode, and everybody laughs at you, and it's fun.
Nice.
But that's one that we played recently. We played a party game called Monikers, which is a lot of people might have known of it. I forget what it's called, but it was like a free-to-play internet game for a long time, and they basically turned into a nice, polished card game like Cards Against Humanity did back in the day. But it's a party game where like you split into teams and you have a deck of cards that's kind of like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, like a lot of random pop culture references. Like one of the cards we had the last time I played was this historical figure. I forget his full name, but it was like Roland something. It's like Roland the Flatulator, Farter of the King. And it's this actual guy in history that was like a jester. And his job was he would come to the king and he'd do like a flip and a fart at the same time, and that was like the king's favorite thing in the world. So we learned something. But
that's awesome.
So there's cards like that. Ones like you have things that are like bacon, like it's just like a mixture of things. And you play the first round, and basically you have a minute with this deck of cards, and you try to get through as many as you can in a minute by saying anything but the name on the card. After that minute's over, you give the remainder of the deck to the other team. They do the same thing, and you go back and forth until the deck is empty. So every card in that deck has been seen by both teams. You add up the points, and that's the end of round 1. Round 2, but instead of what you do is you just say one word, and so you really have to pay attention to the clues from the first round, because like Roland the Farter, like that's an easy one because you can just be like farter, but like some of these ones, like there was like Humpty Dumpty, and somebody said the guy who fell off a wall, and so you just want to say wall because that's something like you've already keyed in. Go through the whole deck again, add up the cards, and then there's a third and final round where it's basically charades, and then at the end of that, whoever has the most points win. And it's kind of fun because the whole game is kind of this building like driving force getting you to that last round where the charades happen and everyone's like, oh god, like how do I act out Roland the Farter Flatulator for the game, And
I feel like that's easy. I think you just do a flip and fart.
Yeah, right? I mean, you can make your medieval hay that way, but yeah, so we played that too.
I mean, I told my mom I would amount to something one day.
I always knew Trace wasn't your first name. I didn't know it was Roland.
Yep. It's an R name for sure.
Well, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Well,
And please tell me that you completely acted out the scene from Harry Potter when you were talking about Mandragora root.
Well, every time I bought one, I did hear like that high-pitched squeal in my head, and I was like, I don't know if I can keep playing this game because this is giving me a headache.
Yeah. The Mandrake or Mandragora? That's all I can hear.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
all I know is I think Trace just licked his brush before he spoke, and it was awesome.
Yep. I did.
Nice. Brush liquor. Cool. Cool. So I guess it's me. So played in the Underworlds meetup at the Gamers Geekery and Tavern, and that was a lot of fun. Been playing a little bit of Underworlds, and that's about it as far as kind of miniatures games are concerned. My son has happened to find a classmate / bus friend who has a bunch of Pokemon cards, and his friend just gave him some cards, and now they just trade them back and forth on the bus, I guess. I don't...
It's like that episode of Beavis and Butthead with the candies. Did you ever see that one?
Yes. Yeah.
And they have like $1 in the box of candies, and they give the dollar back and forth.
Right, yeah. It's like, oh, great, we sold all the candy. So,
yep.
yeah, because, so randomly one day, like at the very beginning of the year, my son comes home, and he has got like a binder sleeve with like 12 Pokemon cards in it. And I'm like, where did these come from? Like, is my son beating up other kids and taking their Pokemon cards? Or so anyway, so he has these Pokemon cards. He's interested in them. Like, he's like legit reading now. And so he had like a really good week behavior wise at school. And so I went and got like just the cheapo, like 2 starter deck introduction to Pokemon, the card game set. And we've been playing it and a lot.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, and I like am playing it with him, and it's been awesome because like it came with like fold out play mats, and it has all the steps there, and I just remind him, he's like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, you have the steps in front of you, so you just read them, and then he reads them, which is like blowing my mind because here's this tiny human being that until like 3 months ago
could not read,
and now he is like, remove 1 energy from this Pokemon when you attack. And I'm like, how do you even, I don't even understand that. Like, it's amazing. But it also means that I am playing like Pokemon with my son.
Hell yeah. And they do a really great job with those starter like combat boxes.
Yeah.
Because you don't even shuffle the deck. Like, it's laid out in a way where it's like, this is going to kind of work you through the challenges and processes of how this game is going to work. And it's great. I think they really do a good job of making that game accessible for people.
Yeah. And now like we've played through the deck stock, and so now we shuffle them, and we're like legit 50-50 on wins just because of like the card draws and stuff. And I'm like, oh great, I drew 1 basic Pokemon and then 6 energies. Well, I guess and my son, he drew into, like his, legendary Pokemon on the first draw. And so he attacks and I die and I'm out of Pokemon. So my son wins in like 3 turns. But I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. But it's been fun. It's been cool. And, he showed interest in other games. We bought the game Dragonwood, which was recommended to us by Max back at Nova. And it was out of stock from the distributors for a long time. So finally got a copy of it in. And I thought that it would be simple enough and interesting enough with all of the art on the cards to keep my children entertained, and that was not the case. So it devolved into my wife and I playing against each other, and she thrashed me soundly. But for anyone who hasn't heard of Dragonwood, the idea is that you're basically, it plays like almost like Rummy. So you're drawing cards, you're trying to build sets, and whenever you get a set, you can try to fight a monster to get points. And the way that you fight the monsters, you roll a number of dice based on how many cards are in your set. And your set could be cards of the same color, cards of the same number, or cards in a row. And so you go through that, and then the idea is to get through the forest to defeat all the monsters until you get the dragons and defeat the dragons. And then once both dragons are defeated, then the game is over, and whoever has the most points wins. So it's a lot of fun. It's pretty simple. It's pretty cool because like I can get my 5-year-old to do some basic math to add up the dice. But yeah, so that's fun. And then hobby wise, I am almost done painting the Bone Reaper half of the Feast of Bones from our Christmas painting challenge that's turning into the end of January challenge. So the only thing that I have left is Vokmortian. So everything else is done. So I'll try to get some decent pictures of what I've got painted so far up soon. I am reading through Garrow, so I finished Flight of the Eisenstein and got Garrow for Christmas, and I'm reading through that. And
Nice.
to be on the complete flip side of where we are in the story now, Garrow is set like right at the very beginning of the heresy, and it's been interesting to see like just how insidious the threat of Horus was, like the fact that he had agents and influence like at Terra throughout the heresy. Like I just have not read that much of it, and I had no idea. So that's been cool. And then I picked up the Psychic Awakening Ritual of the Damned. Pretty excited about that content-wise, just because of the new rules for the Grey Knights. I'm not going to sit here and do a full review here, but I feel like they have added some things to the Grey Knights that will make them play more like the Grey Knights have played historically. So they have, rules now where they can get, -1 to hit when they're in cover, or their smites are more potent. And then just some new stratagems that, are thematic and interesting. So it's kind of got me on an itch to maybe paint some of the unpainted Grey Knights that I still have sitting around. But story-wise, unfortunately, it's more of the same. So they kind of dig into kind of the bad blood that's between the Grey Knights and the Dark Angels. So back in the Fall of Fenris, whatever that book series was called, whenever Magnus was released.
Wrath of Magnus.
There was some bad blood between the Dark Angels and the Grey Knights, because the Grey Knights basically had to infiltrate the rock to purge it from the demons that had come into being. And
get it, Changeling.
Yeah, right. And, the Dark Angels aren't big fans of non-Dark Angels being on the rock because secrets. So
just stay away.
Right? Well, and it's probably for the best anyway. But that was cool to hear them, or to read about them diving, into that bad blood a little bit. But I won't spoil it, but we'll suffice it to say that the pattern of
nothing happens.
Yes, the pattern of the status quo being maintained.
Sprinting to stand still.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's fine.
One comment on Dragonwood, like, because you just kind of, I have to jump back because you just got on a roll.
Sorry.
I found with Emma, because like if you play like the way the game's laid out, there's a lot of cards, like there's a lot of enemies and potions that you have to kind of go through to get to the dragons.
Sure.
Like I just cut it down to 9 cards.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
And it seems it's still like a longer play, but it seemed to help keep her interest, because then the dragons come up and she can kind of work through trying to get the dragon. So.
Oh, that's a good idea. Nice. Pro tips. Sweet.
So, and I am very disappointed to hear that the story. So, like, as a Dark Angel lover, not a player anymore, because they're basically retired for me. Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm playing for a new faction that likes to just slaughter the innocent. So, so would you say it's worth the buy for the story alone, or
no?
The rules are the substance there.
No, it's really about the rules. Yeah, the plot is not. Yeah, I would not buy it just for the plot.
But you're happy with the Grey Knight portion?
I mean, you mean like rules-wise?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it seems cool on paper. I think there's some meat there that hasn't been there before. So, and obviously, if you are a Dark Angels player, you want to pick it up too, because it brings them in line with the way that the other Space Marine armies play. Not necessarily to the same level, but definitely in line with the doctrines and the super doctrines, and all of those super cool factions and chaplains getting litanies and all that stuff. So
sweet.
Yeah. So painting ogres.
Yep.
Playing board games.
Yeah.
Doing a whole lot.
Doing all the things.
And then doing a little bit. So, yeah, I think that covers us for what we've been up to. So we'll take a break here, and then when we get back, we'll go over the LVO Warhammer Preview.
All right, high rollers, we're back to talk about the LVO Preview event, and there is a lot of cool stuff coming out that I know is really tickling the fancy of everyone on this podcast. So LVO taking place this weekend as we record. The preview event was on wonderful Thursday night at like midnight. Yep. And I know there was two of us that were still up. So
Yep.
I was actually close. I went to bed at like 11:30 that night.
Get out of here.
I thought about it. I was like, I could stay up. It was raid night. I had no choice. But.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
There it is.
It doesn't turn into a pumpkin on raid night, just on every
Dude,
other.
if you heard me on comms, yeah, I turned into a pumpkin, believe me. I was ready to go.
I actually managed to stay up for it. So
Can we just pull this mob, for God's sakes?
No, we wiped on the boss at like 10:58. Raid's supposed to end at 11. I was like, let's go again. They did it like 3 more times. I was like, bros, we're not going to do this. And we got Thursday. Like, let's just go to sleep and call it. I was cranky. Very cranky.
Cranky.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And it's like an 8-minute, it's first week of the raid. So every fight is like 8 minutes. And it's like, we're going to do this again? Are we really going to do this again? Come on. I digress.
So anyway,
miss and don't miss those days.
So Trace and I were still awake for the lovely witching hour, and the first thing they drop on us is yet a new, psychic awakening rages on, but it is Adeptus Mechanicus. And Trace, you own this army, and these horse things. What's your thoughts, man? Like
I
Wild
think they're
West.
amazing. I think they're amazing models. They really kind of lean into a vibe that I feel has kind of been a little bit present. They just kind of pushed it a little further. So you have these Skitarii that are basically desperados riding mechanical horses, which I just think is really cool. And the aesthetic really reminds me of the Will Smith Wild Wild West movies.
Yeah. They do.
I'm sorry. I just was never expecting that in our Lord's year 2020 we'd hear somebody bring that up as like a good thing.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying it was a good movie, but some of this, like this whole steampunk aesthetic, I think is just kind of it's kind of a missed opportunity in the 40K universe because it's obscure and weird, which is what the AdMech are anyway. So I just think if there was any army that it was going to work for, it would be them. But you have the horses, and then you also have the gargoyle-ish kind of Skitarii, which I think are really interesting as well, that go with the Archaeocopter, which Danny absolutely does not like. So difference in aesthetic tastes here, which is fine. Like, I just think it's a cool idea, and some of those poses, they're really dynamic. Especially the horse riders.
Yeah, the horse rider with the double pistols.
It's
so cool.
Super cool.
And then the alt version is like badass. They're like dogs with flamer faces.
Yeah,
which Danny loves that. Like, give me more flamers, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's a flamer face horse, mechana horse thing. Anyway, it's cool. Yeah. Very, very cool.
They're Sherby's Raiders, right? Is that? I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Cerberus.
Sherbert Raiders.
Sherbert Raiders.
Because they can't spell anything appropriately. They have to put Y's in places that I's are and all that stuff. So. But yeah, the Cerberus Raiders are they're really cool. I'm excited to see.
And I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce the bat wings like the Petraxi.
The Taraxi. Just think like pterodactyl.
Or pterodactyl.
Yeah. Pteranodon.
The reason I like them is just there's two reasons, right? So like I like that weird gyrocopter with the wings and stuff.
Yep.
And this solidifies the look of the army.
Yep.
And the other thing is that just the cool factor of GW going to an army that was a new range, right? Like, so this was a new range a few years ago. Lovely range, but there was some gaps in play styles, and it really seems like they're trying to address those gaps by keeping the aesthetic of the army just all the way through, and the foresight and thought is great, and I'm super excited, although scared, because with all those flamers, like every unit they've introduced, it's like, oh, here's a flamer.
Here's a flamer.
I'm just gonna
and another flamer.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I will say this: like, I don't really like the flying thing, and I don't like the gargoyles, and I figured out what it is. It's because I think the wings they look like they're made out of cloth, and I was like, how's that going to survive? And it doesn't look like 40K to me. But I will say this, and I mean this honestly, I'm really excited. I have nothing but respect for the fact that 40K the designers kind of took a step way out of their normal wheelhouse and was like, screw it, we're going to do something kind of wacky, and it's either going to hit some people or it's not. And I like that. I think that's a good thing. I think it's better for the game to do that. It's just not for me.
The story may be stale, but the models are hot and fresh.
The models, best models in the game. Like the game meaning the tabletop war game. Like, it's unbelievable how much better their models are than anybody else's.
Well, and I like to think of it like this. I think that somewhere on Mars, someone has found a digitized version of Da Vinci's journals, and they're like, this looks like this will work. Sure. Yeah. This is an ancient STC.
It's an STC pattern. Like, it's just an old one.
It has to be. Look how old it is. There's no way this isn't an STC. Cloth wings.
Cotton? We got cotton in the 41st millennium.
For the record, I would not paint them as cotton wings, because I think that does kind of cheapen them a little bit. But they're very cool. Some pro somewhere is gonna hand paint them as like carbon fiber weave.
Yeah, or like some kind of weird like multimedia kind of thing. It's gonna be
it'll be awesome.
The big flat space, people will do stuff with it.
Yep. And I also love the way that they roll these out too, because they basically, if nobody's seen the video, video is basically them saying, like, it's imagine if your 3-year-old were sitting in the room with you and said, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and just over and over and over and over and over again, and then finally you go, "What?"
It's awesome.
It's essentially the same thing, but it's the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Did you watch this one though? This one it's a little spin on it.
Yeah.
So like the guy's like, "Hey," and the guy's like, "We know you're going to request stuff, so we already given it to you. Don't even ask."
Yeah. Just be quiet. Here's your Pop-Tart. Shut up. But anyway, so awesome. I'm excited for those. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool conversions too, with third-party bits that people are going to do. I actually think that these would be absolutely excellent as crossovers into a Cities of Sigmar army to be Pistoliers.
Like a really mechanical,
not the flamer horses, but the ones that have a more traditional looking face.
Yeah.
With some just
steam
different
tanks and
gyrocopters. Really cool. I think you'll see some people that'll lean into that pretty heavy. So I'm excited to see what people do with them conversion wise.
Cool idea. The other part of this was the Psychic Awakening. So obviously Adeptus Mechanicus, Knights, Chaos Knights, and Demons of Chaos being rolled into another book. For me, I want to see what model, because typically they offer a single model. I just wonder what single model will be, or maybe they won't, because there's such a big range coming out with the Adeptus Mechanicus. So interested to see what they do there.
I am interested to see what the demons are, because they're like my bridge faction that go from Age of Sigmar to 40K. So I'm interested to see what rules updates they do there, because demons are already pretty solid as it is. So I'm curious what I'm sure there'll be some kind of new psychic lore or whatever that will come out for each deity, which will be interesting. So
2+ rerollable, invulnerable. Kicking
Yes.
it back.
Bring
Going all
back
the way
7th.
back.
Bring back 7th. Just kidding. Please
On,
don't.
on 2 dice.
On 2 dice, yeah.
yeah.
The next little teaser was the orc teaser, and I'm a little confused. Maybe Danny can help me out. He's just like, there's this huge power claw, and then it's like, it looks like this, big custom backpack, and then it's a little grot, and I don't understand how all that stuff fits on him. And it's cool looking, but
On the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, physics need not apply.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, so we're really excited about the new Makari. I thought he was dead. Yeah,
I love this. I love that you guys are you're just skirting around this. We're not going to talk about the elephant in the room, about my genius. We're just going to talk about the little grot. That's fine.
Well, that's what they revealed. What else would we talk about?
I don't understand. Like, how does that little grot carry that huge skull on his shoulder? It's not.
God.
So I guess
Great skill and courage, Jason.
I guess we have to give credit where credit is due. So
Go ahead,
Danny,
Danny.
Give me it.
Good job, Jason. I'm just kidding.
congratulations on winning Shade Glass or Amber Bones, Trace. Good job.
Thank you.
Danny called it.
Yeah, Danny called it, and it is like some just boss, right?
It's Gazgul, who's like the orc boss.
Oh, okay.
He's like the orc abbot, and I'm super psyched because
Oh my gosh, he looks huge.
he's huge, and that's what he needed to be. Like in the lore, he's supposed to be unbelievably gigantic because like orcs just get bigger and bigger, and they stop growing basically when they die, and they get bigger the more they kill, more or less. And this guy is like the guy,
And
so
he's been winning since the 3rd War for Armageddon.
Yeah, like he just doesn't stop.
Which in the timeline is like 250 years now.
Yep. Something like that.
Yeah. He should be massive. He needs to be on the same scale as Abaddon and Gilliman.
I think he'll be the size of a dreadnought, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
I think he's going to be
Redemptor,
really
you mean?
But is it not all right? So if they do that, will it not throw the rest of the range completely off?
No, he should be that much bigger.
And also, like if you think about some of the new orc miniatures, like the mech boys and stuff, like they're pretty gnarly big models too.
Yeah.
They're like the size of a centurion, so it'll work.
Yeah, like the plastic mega armor knobs.
Yeah, and like
they're
the flash
huge.
kits are all really big.
Yeah.
Like the little, it makes sense because in orc lore, that's why like the basic warriors should be the smallest ones, because the bigger and badder you get, the more fancy stuff you get.
Yeah. If you're big enough to be a boss, you're big enough to not look like those guys.
Yeah. But I'm super psyched for that model because I don't play orcs or anything, but I have a really soft spot for orcs in fantasy lore in general. And so I've always been kind of disappointed with 40k orcs on the tabletop, like model wise. I never really liked them, but since they've kind of started reworking a lot of those miniatures over the last like 3-4 years, those kits have been really cool.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Well, cool. That closes the 40k preview, and we move into the Age of Sigmar. And guys, in the opening, I said I bought into Slaves of Darkness, and I may have made a mistake.
Did you say steak?
This new range of pointy-eared fellas looking nice. I mean, Jared, you love the pointy ears. What do you think of these new ALVs?
ALVs? Well, if you had read the recent White Dwarf, you would know that it's pronounced elves.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the Lumineth Realm Lords, these are the elves that are under Teclis's rule, coming from Hysh, which is the realm of light. And I mean, the sculpts are just absolutely incredible. I've never been one to want to play the elf factions in like Age of Sigmar or Fantasy. I had an Eldar army. It was the first army I ever bought, but quickly moved from the Eldar to kind of split between Tyranid and Grey Knights, and then they were just never a huge draw. Like, I've appreciated the models, but I can't deny, like, these are just incredible looking, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty robust line of models. I think the only thing that I have to say personally is that I cannot deny the talent and the artistry of the sculpt of Teclis, but this is probably one of the few instances where the pose of the model is enough to kind of push me off of it.
So have you seen the 360 views yet?
Or in the video. It looks better in the video.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good, but I think the thing is that I had an image in my head based on the artwork where Teclis is like he's clearly like moving forward, like in a very aggressive. I mean, it's still like a lofty flight mode, obviously, but it's a very aggressive like pose.
Yeah.
And then the pose on the model is a lot more passive. So, I mean,
it's like Magneto.
Yeah. I mean, it's still super cool. Like, it's still a super cool model, but it's one where, like, the pose just kind of makes me go, eh.
And I would agree, and I see where you're coming from. Like, his arms stretched kind of, like, up like that. Definitely, I was like, I don't know. When I saw the side view, like, the way his cape is, his body is actually tilted forward, so there is some forward motion to him, but he is very, very flat. And the only other complaint I would have on the model is that whatever the beast is that he's jumping off of, it looks very similar to the Stormcast beast. So
the Tarlon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like with the big feathered wings and all that stuff.
Yes, but I think that this model is going to be massive, and I really appreciate the Age of Sigmar models going, like, every army has this just, like, massive main character centerpiece.
I just love how over the top some of the models get with them. It just really leans into that high fantasy kind of style, which is really awesome.
I think the best model previewed was the one that you fell in love with, Trace. The armor.
Oh yeah. The hollow armor.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's so good.
It's great because I don't know if I'm about to get a little bit lore crazy on y'all. So for those who do not know, Eltharion was one of the princes in the High Elf army in the old world. And Eltharion had some bad stuff happen to you bad stuff happened to him where Malekith actually took his eyes as torture. So this is one of the only models from the old world that actually saw an update in their model based on rules or based on like lore, right? So now he's not transcended through to the new world, to the mortal realms, but he's like his soul apparently went with it, and Teclis basically has reanimated his soul but didn't give him a body. Like, it made him a hollow suit of armor. Like, it's kind of a dick move a little bit.
Yeah, Teclis is a jerk.
But I guess in this way, like, he can never truly be killed again, which is kind of a cool take on it. But Eltharion was always a very cool character of High Elf lore in the old world. So it's kind of for those lore nerds out there.
I mean, for me, like Danny touched on it with the 40K models and the Gurzag coming out. Gazgul. Yeah, my mind is melding here tonight. But the ability for these designers to make a model with no body in it, like it's just floating armor, is amazing. I can't wait to see it in person.
Also, can we talk about how big that model is? Because it is deceptively large. If you look at the tufts and stuff on the base, like, he's probably the size of like Celeste or a Primarch. He's not on a like 32 mil or a 40 mil base. He's on a big base. Like, it's at least a 50 mil. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, as the guy who just confessed his love for orcs, the elf stuff was not doing it for me personally. So you guys were having a complete nerd like gasm over this. I was like, I'm gonna sit in the corner and just let them have fun because it's not for me. I think they are incredibly well done, and I do think like the technological feat of creating that ghost armor guy is pretty
awesome.
mind bending. But I was like, that's a range that I don't need to collect. That's for sure.
Yeah.
See, I think it looks, for me, and the reason why I was like, I may have made a mistake is not so much the two characters. Is one, there's still more of the range to be leaked, right? They're doing like a sister style event with it, but the spearmen and the cavalry they're like so grounded in historic looking armies, with the shields and the spears and the big plumes off their helmets. Like, I'm just like, oh, that looks so cool. But anyway.
But it looks like elves, so screw it.
It does.
Yeah.
And the other big release, or big spoil, was a new battle tome, which may make one of our people go to 3 armies in Age of Sigmar. So it was like dinosaurs or something.
No. Unless they do something crazy like they give all Saurus warriors and Saurus Guard 2 wounds, it's not going to happen. Because this is.
It might. It really might happen.
So Seraphon is Jared's love in Age of Sigmar.
I mean, it's dinosaurs riding dinosaurs. I don't understand why it's not everyone's favorite army.
It sounds like you have to be 18 to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I know what his Google search looks like.
Disappointing. I'm like, what? More of this? This is not what I wanted.
So what do you think about the 2
wounds, not this thing?
That's right.
What do you think about the monolith that they're going to get?
I mean, that thing's awesome. The ziggurat or temple or whatever. Yeah, no, I mean that's super cool, and it may be worth purchasing just to own as a piece of terrain. But yeah, no, I mean we talked about this when I sold the Seraphon. If they don't play the way that I want them to play, and I can't imagine them making such a drastic change to the battle tome that they would play in a way that they used to back in the old world. And that's okay.
I will raise you your doubt and give you a Slaves to Darkness army.
I don't understand what, like, if I get your army. If
no, I'm just saying
wrong?
They were bad and now they're good.
No, fair. Yeah, but it's not like the Seraphon are bad. Like, it's not like mechanically they don't work.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get really far away from all that summoning shenanigans, though.
Yeah,
make them more balanced. If I had to guess.
Well, then I might be in trouble.
Then we will see.
We'll see.
So moving on from there, staying in the Age of Sigmar realm, we get a big announcement for Warhammer Underworld's Beastgrave in the form of the next warband and a Nurgle 3-person warband, Wormspat. I guess the Rotbringer.
The
people.
Wormspat. Yeah.
The Wormspat. Fecula
Flyblown.
And is Fecula? Is that a sorceress?
Yeah, she's a girl.
Lady.
Yeah, she's super thick. She's super thick. Yeah. This is a really cool looking warband.
Yeah.
And like all of the Nurgle models, if the Nurgle model aesthetic appeals to you, these models just lean into that super hard and they're awesome. Some people are turned off by it. I mean, as you probably should be as a sane human being. But I think it's going to be I have no idea how they're going to play, but it's one of those warbands where you're like, I don't care how it plays. I just want to play it because I like the models and I like the lore. So excited to see what they have up there. Dirty, pus-filled sleeves
Yeah.
For you, especially Trace, you're going to have to make some really hard decisions here because I know that you like Mantrapper because he's an orc.
He's a what?
He's an ogre. Man, I'm just killing it tonight. He's an ogre, right? So you have that army. Plus, like he looks very similar to Mollog, which you like to play. But then now they're leaning into Nurgle, and she looks like a wizard, and you like to play Nurgle, and you like spells.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, everybody seems to be flirting with two lists, like pretty consistent this season anyway. So nothing to say that I can't lean into both. So
there you go.
True at the same time.
I think it's pretty cool that they like Nurgle isn't what I would have thought of with the whole realm of beasts, but they do enough cool little cues in the models to kind of help tie it, like with their horn headdress and all that stuff. It's that's kind of a neat way to pull that into that world. I thought that was a clever design choice.
They gave her a cat-looking thing, so that's like a beast, right?
Yeah,
sure.
What is it called? It's Retchling.
Yeah.
Retchling? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about to make me retchling.
It looks like a kitty cat with a slightly human face-ish.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's weird.
It reminds me of the Gyrinx, but like
twisted.
Diseased.
It's faintly resemblant of what my mind interpreted happened in spoilers in what's the Hunger Games? Did you guys read the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
The chimeras.
Yeah, that's
like
kind
the
of
dog gorilla things.
The dogs that were made from people, like that is kind of where my mind went. Is this thing a little bit? Because I remember very distinctly reading like when she looked at some of their eyes, like you could tell that they were human beings. That they weren't animal eyes; they were human being eyes. So that's kind of what it. So anybody who's read those books, that's kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty twisted.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see how they bring the Nurgle like real toughness into Underworlds. Like what?
Yeah, agreed.
They all 5 wounds. Do they have like really great defensive roles? Like I'm really curious to see how they bring that in there. So. I'm sure we'll talk about that more in the weeks to come. The next reveal was for our beloved Blackstone Fortress, and they're bringing back an old faction. I'm not really familiar with that faction or type of character, but a Zoke.
Zote.
So fill me in here, guys. It looks cool, but what the heck is that?
It's if
it's a 40K crocodile.
Killer Croc. If Killer Croc was a 40K character.
Yeah.
And was a herald of Tyranid fleets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
If Killer Croc crossed the comic book Rubicon and became a Marvel character for the Brood, that's what happens.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. There it is. Nailed it.
A lot of Brood references in that model, I think.
Yeah. Just all the nerd references.
There you go.
Sandy, you were going to say something?
Oh, yeah. Like, for me, I mean, I wouldn't be able to give you too much information about it, Zote. And I know that I kind of end up waxing poetic about Blackstone Fortress more than most. But something that I really love about what they've been doing with Blackstone Fortress is they're using it as a vector point for a lot of these kind of like side ideas from old books. And so one of my very first introductions to the Warhammer 40K universe was the 3rd edition rulebook, and I still remember to this day on one of the pages there's a pencil sketch of like all of these aliens,
like the Hrud and
the Hrud, and the Zote, and there's like this like weird little kind of like rat thing that looks like a cousin It collapsed on itself and then had like bone fingers, and I think there's a Kroot on there and stuff, and like, and I just think it's like I remember looking at that, and it kind of the only thing I can think of now, which obviously I didn't see until later in life, is that kind of the like Guardians of the Galaxy kind of lineup picture, you know, where they're all up against the prison wall, and it's like it was kind of the same idea for 40K, where it was like here's a bunch of bad guys that like are out there that we don't really know what to do with, but you should know they're there, and I a big fan of having like a little bit of mystery in the world.
Yeah.
And so that has stuck with me. And so now, like every now and then, Blacksmith Fortress is like, hey, remember that cool little sketch we did, 15, 20 years ago? Here's a model of it.
Yeah.
And here's a way to play with it. And we're not going to blow it up, and we're not going to completely like take away the mystery. We're just going to give you that drawing made 3D and let you run with it.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Well, and it's cool
it's
too to see
cool
them
idea.
like refresh old sculpts, because there was an old Zote model, and
And it looks almost like that. Like
but they did the same thing with the Amble. Like there was the old
the
Amble model,
system.
and and now there's the new Amble, and the new Amble is way better looking than the old one. And so it'll just be interesting to see them continue to do that, to explore, pieces of factions as the Blackstone Fortress folds in upon itself and opens gates to new and exciting dimensions of
Terrible.
awesomeness. Yep.
I like his Power Fist. I think it's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna buy that model and chop that Power Fist off and put it on a Primaris Marine.
You enjoy that. I'm excited to go up against them. We'll eventually get to that campaign, but really cool that they're still supporting that game and like you guys said, bringing lore back in. The next piece that came up was, and I'm excited to kind of see what they're going to do. Not a whole lot of comments on it, but they're redoing the Forge World indexes, which what I would assume would be like Imperial armor updates. So really, really cool to see that Forge World getting back into writing rules and updating books, and they're definitely teasing it with a wonderful picture of a question mark and saying that the Forge World indexes will be disappearing. So cool thing there. And then last for us, kind of the big reveal or tease was the animated series Angels of Death. I'm excited. Like, I think the more that we get out there with media or different forms of entertainment for 40K or any type of GW property is good, but love to get your guys' thoughts on what you think this animated series is going to bring us. I mean, Danny, you down for this red of death?
So like let me take you on my emotional journey on this entire thing. I am really skeptical of the expansion of Warhammer 40K universe into different media. I think that the story writers have shown us many times that they're very capable of writing really cool and really engaging stories, but they've also shown us their ability to write really bland and uninspired and kind of pointless stories. And I think inherently this kind of media, in the sense of like tabletop gaming and this kind of grim dark future of the 41st millennium, is kind of niche. Like, yeah, there's stories that everybody could relate to, but to even get to them, like, you kind of have to want to get there. And so I'm a little skeptical about how this will reach people. I think they have these grand plans. Like, they released the Warhammer Ident the other day, and that's really cool. Like, it's super cool for a nerd like me that already likes the IP, but I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to like rope people in and be like, oh, I never heard of this, and I watched Angel of Death on Netflix, and now I'm going to go buy the models. And that's just my personal skepticism on it. But I will say this: when they showed the video this week, I was like, damn, that looks really good.
Super
Like,
cool.
it looks way better than I expected it was going to. I will say the voice acting is not the world's greatest, and that could be painful at times, but I thought visually it is stunning. Like, I think this cool, like, Sin City-esque, like, black and gray with splashes of red is super powerful and super poignant, and I think it looks awesome. But I am cautiously optimistic as to what the actual product itself will be like.
Trace, you got different thoughts?
I'm in line with a lot of what Danny just said. My main differing opinions are that a lot of people are aware of the 40K universe, but don't really know about it. And I think this may be those things that kind of be like, oh, that's what that's about? That's really cool. That may bring some people crossing over into the game realm. Not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, like, I think that's, you may have some of these fringe people who are not necessarily fans that know of the genre, know of the realm of what we love, but this may be the kick that gives them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. I just think it's a lot harder than people give it credit for. Like, think of a company like DC, which has beloved characters, and they still are struggling to get anything that can really, other than Joker. Obviously, it was amazing, and everybody loves Joker, but like, their movies have been struggling, and people know what that is. And so if you don't put a product on the table that is really good, people have so many other options of things to do and other ways to consume media that, like, it makes me nervous. It's like, how much time and money and effort is GW going to put into this? And if it doesn't work, like, what does that mean, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I think the thing that probably the lens we should look at this through is that in all things, GW is trying to sell you something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily think these are going to be like, I don't think they're going to win like whatever awards there would be for, you know, shows wherever these are going to be. If they're on Netflix, like, they would obviously go to like all the big shows. But like, I don't think the goal is to be Academy Award winning. I think it's more of make people more aware of the universe so that they'll come buy our shit. Is kind of where I'm leaning. And people, you know, we're all going to be watching it because we love the universe. So they've already got us. But to all these, like, for example, perfect like analogy, right? Did any of you watch The Witcher?
Yes.
So I can guarantee you that after that show came out, book sales for The Witcher went up, and also video game sales for The Witcher went up. So I think that's kind of from a marketing standpoint, just a broader cast net. Even if it's just to get like a starter set, like, that's still lining GW's pocket, right? So I think that's kind of the lens we need to kind of approach it from. And if it's better than that, then we're all pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to really, I think you and I have very different philosophies on this. Like, I don't think that they're trying to win an Academy Award either. I just think The Witcher was really good.
It was really good.
The product has to be really good. That's my concern. Like, I don't really care how many models DW sells. It's just, it has to be really good. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a really good point, because GW over its history has taken kind of two paths with the additional media, right? Whether it's been video games or animated movies, like, you name it, they've done it. And at times they're very selective, and they're like, no, we're only giving our license to top-notch products. And then at other times, especially in the video game industry, they're like, the more the merrier. Whoever wants to pay for the license, we're going to do it. So I hope that they are very selective, and all of this content is A+ to bring more people in. So.
Yeah, and they're going to have to do a lot of hand-holding, which is tough too, because, like, if they are trying to reach people that aren't already invested in 40K, like, that's, like, you have to build a lot of world. Like, you have to build a lot of story, and you have to build a lot of things to make any of it make sense.
Agreed.
Like, they just got to do it. They got to stick the landing. And the pictures look great, and the moving pictures look great, and the talkies sound okay.
I think the voice acting in those is actually just the like the people who do the audiobooks. I think maybe for like an early release kind of video. I don't think that would be the final. Those would be the final people to do those.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It could very well be, but they put in front of me.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, because I recognize several of those because I listen to a lot of the audiobooks in my commute, and I was able to pick out several that were pretty common. So.
Well, we shall see. That pretty much wraps up the preview event. A lot of great content. GW definitely keeping us on our toes and our wallets thin. So with that, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the outro.
And we're back, and that'll round us out. So thanks again, everyone, for listening, joining us as we continue our journey. Did someone just die?
No, my sleeve got caught on my chair.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. The
Okay.
sleeve, I don't know if that's okay, but I can't really talk to it, so.
Cut it off.
Amputate.
Yeah, get rid of that sleeve. So this will wrap us up for episode 20. Kind of the start of, I guess, what we're going to call the second season, moving into towards Nova 2020. So if you have any comments or questions, if there's something that you would like to hear us talk about, give us a comment. You can reach out. We're on Facebook, BattleMallet Podcast. We're on Twitter, BattleMallet1. We're on Instagram, BattleMallet PCast. So reach out, give us some feedback, find some comments, comment on our photos, like some stuff. We'll say the needful of, if you like what you're hearing and you want other people to be able to find it through the quote algorithms, end quote, you can give us reviews, stars on Facebook, iTunes, whatever listening platform you're using, and we would appreciate that. But I think that's it. We don't have any super upcoming events.
No, we're still waiting to lock down the Underworlds tournament at Atomic. There is the end of next month a Underworlds tournament at the GW store in Fayetteville, and I think that's
it. So as other things come up as they get closer, we'll post about them. We'll announce them here. So that's it. That'll wrap us up. So for the BattleMallet podcast, we are three dads and a cautious optimist. This is Jared signing out.
Only way to live.
This is Trey signing out.
Danny being cautiously optimistic on this sign out.
It might be good, but I'm not sure.
Not sure. I don't want to get invested. I don't want to get hurt, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. I don't even. Get the hell out of here.
Peace.
The BattleMallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats. Come on, Zero Key.
Sounds like you're speaking to a tiny Asian man in your room.